1, 2. Hello, hello, hello.
Look at that, sounding crystal clear. It's like you're in the next room or something. And thank you. I appreciate it, Dave. Thank you very much for being willing to do this.
Oh, no. Thanks for helping spread the word, man.
Yeah, it's a nice thing. Welcome back. Good to speak with you again. Got a chance to talk to you when you did your last recent gig here with Steve Miller, and a happy recent birthday to you as well.
Well, thank you.
You're quite welcome. God bless you. Do they? When I was taking a look and getting excited for your return to the islands, and thinking about where you're from, I used to live in Boston, so there's a town there. I was wondering if they pronounce your UK hometown the same way they do in Mass. Worcester?
Yes.
They do call it that?
Yeah.
It's just one of those crazy words no one ever knows how to say when they see it.
No, Worcester, not Worcester.
Right. You've got this tour, one hell of a tour poster. I have to commend you on this. The poster that they've got, very psychedelic. It makes you, just looking at the poster for your upcoming Hawaii tour, makes someone want to go see it. Describe describe the tour, and in addition to the great poster, what folks can expect when they head on out to see you.
Well, this show is, there is sort of a visual, i.e. pictures and stuff like that, and some story, just talk a little bit about some stuff with the show. To be honest with you, I don't know how many of the venues in Hawaii are set for it. I hope that they all are. But otherwise, musically, it's basically, I'm revisiting kind of that period when Traffic first started. So it's basically like the first two albums. And most of the songs, in fact, all of them except one, are pretty much stuff written by Jim Capaldi and Steve Winwood. So I'm kind of playing these tunes that I really haven't played in years and years, and I just thought it'd be nice to revisit it. And some of them are they're close to the record, but others are just my versions at this point in time of those particular songs. So that's the first half of the show, and then there's a break, and then we come back and we do the rest of the show is Dave Mason. Hey.
And who's going to be out with you this time, Dave?
Well, my band consists of who's been with me, and they've been with me some time. Alvino Bennett on drums. Tony Papler is my keyboard player, who's actually also playing keyboard bass. And John Sambatero, who has been with me on and off for years, is my other guitar player. And Tony and John sing also. So it's basically a four-piece with all together. I think the shows we did last time when we were there with Miller, I think that I'm trying to recall. I think it was just a stripped down version. It was more in a sort of electric acoustic thing.
Yep,
I think.
Exactly. That's what it was.
Yeah. So this is this is a different story.
Yeah, it's a much more electric feel. And certainly when you're describing the set, that's another aspect of it that's quite different because, as you said, you're intentionally revisiting the Traffic era and Traffic material, putting together, it sounds like the first half of the show will be based around that. On the set list end of that, Dave, when you come up with those selections, is that something where you work out a concrete set, or are there perhaps a few different variations of it that you can kind of play some songs some night and others you'll leave out?
No, not on the show. I mean, we pretty much have the songs. I picked essentially things that are fun to play. So that every night it's a little different. I mean, there's solo stuff in a number of the songs. So it's basically, I stick to the set pretty much when it's a show like this.
So as favorites of yours from the Traffic era?
Well, I do. I do "Dear Mr. Fantasy," which is not my song, of course, but I sort of have a different version. It's the same melody, same thing, but it's just in the original version. It's pretty much. It's actually it's in A, and it's just really basically three chords. So I've turned it into an A minor. and done a few more changes in the song musically.
I like that. Well, it sounds like you're reinventing a lot of stuff that's going to be familiar to people, but you'll give it a different twist because...
Yeah, and I do, and then the only thing I do is stepping out of that particular era and sort of going Traffic AD, Traffic After Dave. We do a version of Low Spark, Ohio Boys.
Oh, wow.
But I've turned it into just a slow blues. And it's amazing how well it goes over.
For folks who are Traffic fans, obviously a huge name in rock and an important part of your life, and you were there for a portion of the band. Talk about how it was that you came to have this important legacy be attached to your career.
Oh, God. Obviously, musically. Obviously, people like the music.
I mean, like how it was that you hooked up with these cats, if there's a nice story.
Oh, you mean when we started Traffic?
Sure.
Sure. I mean, I think it was about 18. And Jim Capote and I had bands together. I mean, Jim grew up 12 miles away from me. So we had bands before Traffic. And then we just sort of finally met Winwood and Chris Wood up in Birmingham, which is where Jim and I would, when we had our other bands, would go do concerts and stuff.
And
so that's how it really, we just all got to hang out. And basically, we just kind of hung out for a year. And one part of it, for 3 months, I was a roadie with Spencer Davis's group.
Oh, wow.
To sort of stick around. I mean, I had to stand in for Steve one night, didn't turn up to a show. So, it was just basically for kid. We were 18, 19, 20 years old.
So this is before Steve had even left Spencer Davis to come over to Traffic.
Yeah, well, Traffic's on. I'm singing on "Somebody Help Me," the harmony with him.
Right.
We're Traffic are all singing on "Give Me Some Lovin'," and I'm a Man.
Great song.
So,
great song. You know what's
actually singing on those two records. So
say again.
Like I said, we're all Traffic singing on those records. So
that's one of the neat things about some of those songs is the unknown hidden connections, if you will, between them. And one of, perhaps a huge song that everybody listening can connect to that you wrote, "Feeling All Right." Then Joe Cocker takes it, makes this, it's one of these, it's a great example of what we're talking about, how these hidden connections between songs. Was that inspiring and when he did that? And can you share a little background of when you first realized that he was going to do it and how you felt when it became this huge hit, your song?
Well, I heard Denny Cordell, I guess, decided to cut it with Joe, and I didn't know about it until I heard the recording of it. I mean, before it was released, but and then Denny played it to me. It was like, oh man, it's unbelievable. So, no, I owe Joe Cocker. I owe that guy a huge debt of gratitude. I mean, because after he did it, since then there's been over 50 different major artists have cut it. It never stops going in films or commercials.
And you get the publishing on that then.
That song alone has been,
a critical part.
Interesting.
Right. I mean, when you look, that's what I meant. I mean, it's been this kind of thing that it's a gift that keeps on giving in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, his version and stuff, it sounds as fresh today as it did then. It's just a great version.
That's a good way of putting it. That's a very good way of putting it. You know what's cool about you, Dave? Your Wikipedia page is one of those kind of things. It's kind of jaw-dropping. It's a tribute to both the diversity of your resume, but also the tenacity of your career. And I'll just pull a few names out to paint a picture for folks who are in our conversation with us right now. You see Paul McCartney and George Harrison's name, Michael Jackson, obviously Hendrix, and your interesting connections with him. When we think about some of these cats, these really bedmark cats that you've gotten to have any kind of relationship with or work with, which one of those would you say is really closest to your heart?
Well, I mean, I guess they all are. All of them really.
Take us to Michael.
In terms of, I mean, obviously the most unique of all of them for me was Hendrix.
And you introducing him to All Along the Watchtower. Tell that great story.
Well, I didn't introduce him to. We went to buy some. Excuse me. A girlfriend at his apartment one afternoon, and there were some other guys, two or three, four other guys from some other bands, and they had the John Wesley Harding album. So, and of course, everybody wanted to hear the latest from Dylan. So that's basically, we both were listening. It was when we were there with that album on, and I guess he just picked up on Watchtower. And we're going in the studio to cut it.
And you got to be part of cutting it. Was that your first time going into the studio with Jimmy?
I'm trying to remember, because there's some other stuff that I did with him, playing bass and sitar and stuff on. I have no idea what happened to them. I can't remember which way around that came.
Aside from cutting sessions, in terms of just as a person and getting to interact with him on a personal basis, is there an enduring memory, a story, something that you think of when you remember who Jimmy really was as a person, or as you knew him?
Well, I mean, a lot of the times he was. Hendrix was Hendrix. I mean, he's actually a pretty quiet guy off stage, and a good sense of humor, but mostly, I mean, I never really spent a lot of time around him where he didn't have a guitar in his hand, even if he wasn't recording. So
yeah, he was attached to that thing, huh?
Yeah.
How about Michael Jackson? How did you end up getting connected with him?
I was cutting the last album I ever made for Columbia, called Old Crest on a New Wave.
Right.
And I had a song on the album, and I needed somebody to sing a high part on it, on this one song, Talk to Me. And Michael was cutting Thriller in the other studio. They were mixing it with Quincy Jones. And they were on a break, so I just went and asked him if he would. I said, I got this track, and I'm recording, and I need somebody to sing a little high part for me on this song. And I was wondering if you'd be up for doing it. And he kind of looked at me, and he said, well, when I was 12 years old, I did a Diana Ross special. And he said, the last thing we did on that show, me and her, is we sang a song called Feeling All Right. So, yeah, absolutely, I'll do it.
What a cool story, Dave. And then does he do it right away, or what happens next?
Well, he sang a lot more than, he did it right away.
So he just walks into the next room with you, into your studio, and starts doing it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and did a lot more than I asked him to do.
Amazing. And easy to work with? Did you have to tell him how
he was a sweetheart. He was just nice. He's just, sure, man. Yeah, Dave. You're right there.
And he didn't need a lot of direction, huh? He just
No, I just played him the song a couple of times, showed him kind of where I wanted the part. He was out there dancing, right in the studio.
He was dancing?
Yeah.
Wow.
Singing at the same time, it was cool.
That's a great way to remember him too. That's a very personal memory. I love that.
Yeah, I've been fortunate. I had some great people that I've been able to work with.
Any favorites that stick out that maybe aren't so well known? Perhaps just because it was a great experience.
Not really off the top of my head. I mean, those are the people I pretty much listed. I mean, it's a pretty hefty stable of names.
Paul, it is. I mean, it's a giant name. Paul McCartney and George Harrison. What was the work with those cats?
That was great. I mean, I kind of got to know them a little bit. I'd go down to the Sgt. Pepper sessions things like that. I mean, I knew them kind of early Traffic stages, but they were McCartney is just music just flows from that guy.
And that was so you were hanging out with them as they did the Sgt. Pepper sessions, basically, in the studio.
I would go, occasionally go down there. I mean, but that happened a lot at the time in England. There were only so many studios that people recorded at, and it was unusual for other artists to stop by somebody's session.
Same thing with George Harrison, All Things Must Pass?
Well, there was a lot of people on that. I mean, frankly, other than looking at the listing, I can't even recall which songs I was playing.
There are a lot of folks on that thing, huh?
There are a lot of guys, a lot of people around.
That's cool for those people. And through your solo career, you were able to interact with a lot of people, as you pointed out. Great story with Michael Jackson. And you've continued to take your music out and theme a variety of different tours. In fact, you mentioned it, how you've come out stripped down. You've come out, with this more traffic-heavy set that you have coming up. How important is it to you when you look at your career and the body of work you have? Is it important that you keep doing something different, or do you feel that that's an important element to get people on board? You know how bands, because I say that because every band, it doesn't matter who, it could be Kiss, could be Aerosmith, could be any, they're doing whole recreating albums, recreating a live album in some cases, classic records.
Yeah. Well, I think it was. I mean, it was just fun to come out and do this sort of this try. I mean, I've been thinking about it for a number of years, and I just wasn't sure. I don't know how this will go over. And then eventually I just did it. What's next? I don't know. Maybe just back to Dave. Alone together again.
That's funny. Any relationship? Where are you with Steve these days?
Well... The problem is, it's not that way around. It's more how his relationship to me is.
Right. I get
Unfortunately.
You. I get you. Yeah, those things. I mean, that's how it works out over time. I've been there myself. I don't even talk to my own father, so I can understand.
It's just it's just a shame because it's a shame because there's an awful lot of people out there that would actually really love to see that. Even though it's just the two of us left, but I think that I get a lot of people on the road ask about it.
That's a fascinating thing about music, huh? The demand of people to, it must be awkward to be a musician and want to do what you want to do, but then have what you just said. There becomes these real pressures where people are like, man, we'd really like to see these two back together. And it's like, that's a hard thing sometimes to put back together. It's more than just music. As you said, it's relationships, really.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it'd be great. I'd love to do it. But c'est la vie.
Yeah, no, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Well, we're really looking forward to this tour. And as a final question, as I wrap it up with you, I've been very grateful to get to pick your brain again, as always. When I think about the spiritual path, perhaps, that we're all on, turning away from music and just the thing that helps keep us grounded, keep us moving, maybe when there are tougher moments, or maybe things that have helped us be resilient when tenacity was necessary. Are there any kind of techniques, tactics, strategies, maybe just things you do with your attitude that are important to keep a positive frame on things that you could share with people who love you, admire you, and are always looking for inspiration from music?
Oh, God. Hey, everybody's got a life to live, and everybody's got their ups and downs. And, I mean, for me, fortunately, no matter how far off the track I may have gotten, I've always had my music to come back to, really. That's basically it.
It's provided a great deal of comfort, I can imagine.
Well, for me, it's just the stuff that's kept me on track, and believe me, I've wandered off the beaten path.
I get you. Focus. It's kept you. It's saved you in so many ways.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. It's been great.
And can I just get you to do
it's taken me all over the world practically.
It has, and it continues to. We're fortunate it's bringing you back here, the great Dave Mason.
Yes, well, I'm looking forward to it. It's been too long since to not been there with what we're, with the band rather than just what we were doing last time.
And you have a history, too, of coming. My loyal listener, Steve, was telling me he thinks your first visit was not until June of 1981. You were opening for America at Andrews Amphitheater, University of Hawaii. Does that sound like the first time you came here to play?
It's possible. I thought we were there a little earlier than that, but...
Hey, it could be. I mean, Steve's just going with what he's got here. He says second gig that he thinks of was 83, Honolulu club called the Coconut Grove.
Well, they used to have a venue at the tennis club or something.
Yeah, that was Andrews Amphitheater, right.
Okay, that one I remember. He might be right.
Yeah. No, well, it was a ways back there. We're all trying to put the synapses together on that one.
Aloha, this is Dave Mason, and you're tuned to my good friend Dave Lawrence.
I give you a big hug, Dave. I'm looking forward to the show. I'll see you when you get to town. Maybe we'll get to do something.
All right, Dave, thanks. Man.
Be safe, man. Hope it was fun. Take care.
Yes, bye.
Bye-bye.